Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today we're gonna be talking about next gen. We're gonna be actually looking at the next gen because over the past 2 days I had a chance to play, or well, to experience the Unreal Engine 5 The Matrix Awakens demo on PlayStation 5. Now, I do believe it also came out for Xbox. I could be wrong, but if you want to actually see it, if you want to experience this showcase, you can actually download it right now for free from PlayStation Store, and I also believe the Xbox Store, if I'm not wrong, but it's not available on PC for some reason. But nevertheless, a lot of people have been messaging me asking, like, did you play it? Did you see the next gen graphics? And this is obviously insane. This has to be the best graphics I'd ever seen in my entire life. And I actually got into this Matrix demo without looking at all of the previous footage people were showing, so I was going in blind. I didn't know what to expect. And then when the first couple of sequences started with basically Keanu came out, obviously there was a blend of real Keanu and Unreal Engine 5 MetaHuman Keanu, which we're gonna be talking about. But you can see right here, the difference is just insane. You almost were not able to deduct what is the Unreal Engine Keanu and what is the real Keanu they actually posted here. Now also, he goes into detail here to talk like how much they were talking about the advancements of, computer generated graphics and, what these things are gonna be, used for in the future, especially shaping humans, changing our look and everything inside of an engine, creating a digital version of ourselves. And we can actually see one shot where Keanu talks about the Matrix shot, which was basically done in CGI. You can actually see here, which for its time when it came out, keep in mind, when I watched Matrix as a kid, that was one of the most insane movies I'd ever seen in my life because of all the technologies they were playing with and how they were using these frozen frames to do 360 movement. For me then, that was something where I just didn't know, like, how were they doing it? And obviously later on, as I was going into film school, I learned everything, all of the technicalities that were used for the film. And now when you look at the technology we have in our homes, this is 100 times more advanced than what they had then for a Hollywood production, which was worth tens and tens of millions. Now you're basically able to produce something like this, better, from the comfort of your home, which is insanity. And I don't think people realize that all of this is being rendered real time, and before that was a huge problem because the hardware that you did have was not able to render that. So before, in video games, you had pre-rendered scenes, you had scenes which load in and they play out and they look better, but they also run in normal frame rate. That's because they were pre-rendered before. But now in this, everything you're looking at is being rendered real time on PlayStation 5. And especially having the Matrix filter over this makes it look like an actual real thing, like an actual real scene. Because if, let's say, I used some of these shots in my film for a couple of seconds, like a shot of the city, etc, etc, you wouldn't be able to see the difference. Because also before, in the intros of films, you had renders of city which were not real, but obviously the tech that we have it in our home. So now games, when they come out, they can look uncanny to the real world. They can make worlds which are going to be so vast and so big, and not just that, but also being rendered well. And I'm gonna talk about that, why, to the point where things are gonna be grandiose when it comes to video games. And it just makes me happy for the future of video games when I see this and how much is one being able to make from just one engine, being Unreal Engine 5. Obviously there are different engines out there that can also have crazy quality, but this was obviously just showcasing one. So this is one of the biggest and strongest suits here is Nanite. And Nanite is it's the new Unreal Engine 5 virtualized geometry system, which uses the new internal mesh format and basically rendering technology to render pixel scale detail and high object counts. And basically what it also does is that it renders only things which are in front of your eyes, or things which can be perceived and nothing else, which obviously loosens the strain onto your system, making things look nice and also run at normal frame rate, so you wouldn't have something run at 5 frames. And basically seeing Nanite and the billions and billions of triangles in work here just shows you how much graphical fidelity you can achieve, because before you had a couple of polygons you can play with, let's say going from PlayStation 1 era where they had to play with a few polygons. Now these things will go into millions, and when you have these shapes which can replicate in so many numbers, you're able to make something which is going to be true to its form. So when you see a building in Unreal Engine 5, because all of that nanite, you're going to actually perceive the building almost as it was real, because it covers each part of the building with those triangles, making it look real, making it look, well, unreal. And especially when the actual demo starts and how it actually goes from action to a cutscene, there is no loading and everything being rendered real time. And also we can actually see nanite in work, because nanite is used in these cars when they're moving. So basically once you have collision of the vehicle, engine is going to swap the mesh with the one that can bend or morph in a sense, which works wonders here, because you are able to have these insane crashes, making the physics and calculation of those physics and everything, how the collision works, is gonna be done faster and it's gonna be done with less stress onto your PC or your console in itself. Also, like for example, nanite is great because it's been optimized over time since Unreal Engine was initially, you know, released. It was optimized in a way where these things can be streamed from hard drive, and you know that hard drives have their limitations, and that's something which is gonna be gone in a couple of years. Everything is gonna be replaced with SSDs, because more and more games now require you to have an SSD, which is going to push that limit forward. And that's the thing, like obviously if you try to run this, let's say on a hard drive, the things would not be looking as well as they do here. And that's also one of the biggest minuses people with, let's say, PCs have today, because in order to really take the full advantage of this technology and rendering, you also have to put it on an SSD, which is going to stream everything nicely and fast, you know, because hard drives have those capabilities which are not really good for today's standards. I also like they used Lumen here. Lumen is also a new technology they have for Unreal Engine 5. Basically, it's like ray tracing in a sense, where basically it calculates how the light is going to travel. We've seen it in the Unreal Engine 5 demo. Now also I do believe they're using hardware ray tracing for some things, like especially maybe the reflections on the glass, but I could be wrong again. But obviously they're showcasing Lumen just because how insane it is. And also because of the faces, they're showcasing another thing, which is MetaHuman, which is something they had released before. And that's the realistic render of human faces and of how humans generally look. And it's going to capture everything from the smallest detail, where your eye is going to twitch, for example, where one small movement of the muscle is going to also showcase the muscle of everything else. So that gives you that realism, and that's what I keep telling people, like it's insane what awaits us for the future of video games with this technology, because this is absolutely insane. And the best thing is, if it's optimized well, you don't really need to have crazy you know, hardware to run this. That's not the case. But still, in some forms, yes, it's gonna be done that way. But I hope in the future when this tech is used, but keep in mind this thing is not really out yet. These games and this, you know, just video games using this technology are not coming out for at least 3 years. I mean, Stalker is gonna be using Unreal Engine 5 and it looks insane. People have been saying, like, is this really what it can achieve? Technically, yes, if optimized well, Unreal Engine 5 can absolutely achieve what the GSC Game World actually wants for Stalker 2, so it's definitely possible. That's why they transitioned from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, which is also not that difficult to do because both programs are compatible. So, you know, basically importing or exporting your game into a different engine into Unreal Engine 5 wasn't a huge bother, and that's why they actually said, like, oh yeah, we're gonna be doing this, and the game is coming out in that Unreal Engine 5. So if they utilize all of this technology, like, it can truly be used for a lot of good things in video games, for storytelling, for everything, for just the scope of the worlds. And already people have been saying like, oh, is this how GTA 6 is gonna be looking at, because they look at the scope of this. We don't know, but obviously this just tells you like what is gonna be capable and how this technology can be used for just insane games that are going to increase the scope of the games we have today. And also, one of the other things besides the graphics is definitely the animation, which has insanely improved when it came to Unreal Engine 5. You can actually see the agents, and also you can see Trinity, Neo, and how they look, how their faces move, and how their general animation is, and how it feels very natural to do it in that way, especially when it comes to these animations of arms, and when an agent actually jumps onto the vehicle, like how good that looks. Like I'm just fanboying here. I'm sorry. This is insane. This has to be the true next gen. These are the best graphics I've ever seen in my life. Keep in mind that I still remember the Unreal Engine 3 demo from 10 years ago. And also, for example, if you look at this thing here, where I'm actually just going around the city and I'm showing you just the triangles and works. This is how it looks. This is how it looks like under the hood, and you can see how many triangles it loads for every single object, and how smart it loads it, because it's just going to do the one which is in the front of you. Basically everything else which is out back, or every building which is behind that building, is not going to be fully loaded, which just makes everything stream nicely into the engine itself and into the console from the engine. Wow. And you can also have, like, I'm showing you content ID, which can actually show like different contents and how they're layered on top of each other, and how each of this object or mesh has its, you know, gazillion triangles which work in harmony here. Wow. I'm amazed. I'm not easily amazed. I'm not easily blown away, but this has to be wow, because half the time I didn't know if I was watching a film or if I was playing a game. The difference in those things is just going closer and closer to being completely blurred, and we're not gonna be able to just distinguish this from reality. Now the next thing is obviously putting this into VR and putting this into the metaverse, as everyone likes to call it. Like, now VR is great, but it still lacks the graphical capabilities that we have without having VR, just because how insane it takes for it to actually render out, and what kind of tech you need to have for you to be able to, let's say, have a VR game with this graphical capabilities. But it's definitely coming in the future, and I believe that's going to be the next step into the immersion of video games, just putting on a VR and just playing video games in these insane graphics, where you won't be able to distinguish real world from this Unreal Engine world or any other engine they come up with. But yeah, like, Unreal is definitely pushing the limits forward, and wow, I'm excited. Hopefully there is going to be a few games which are going to utilize this to the fullest. One of the biggest ones so far is obviously going to be Stalker, but we'll see how that is going to be happening in the end. So thank you so much for watching this. Tell me down below, what do you think about this? I honestly think this is insane, and I'm just blown away by this. But again, I want to hear your thoughts down below, and if you actually had a chance to experience it. Also, check us out on Twitter and Discord, where I post other things and talk about more topics about video games. And also I have Arcolos review coming either tomorrow or day after tomorrow, because I'm still playing through it, so stay tuned for that. Again, this is LKM signing out. Thank you so much for watching. Huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters, and as I said, don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you want to have, if you want to experience more from the channel. Thank you, and bye bye.